You know, I've learned something from Poketubers, and that thing is, as long as you say, "It's my opinion" in the start of a video, you magically become exempt from criticism, because for one thing, your fans will defend you, and two, if you make any mistakes, people will just magically forget you had anything to do with the video. Unless you're Monkiez, of course, who forgot to say that entirely, and if you don't know who he is, he's sometimes an editor for Mystic Umbreon, and he uploaded a video to Mystic Umbreon's channel, and unfortunately, it's very divisive. So I decided to throw my hat into this debate, and we're gonna skip 47 seconds into the video, because it's padding in a 5-minute video.
Coming to number 5 slot is Pelipper. Pelipper, what is this thing? Is it a toilet?
Yes, you thought I would forget about the bird incarnation of a toilet?
Seagull? Is it a pelican?
Yeah.
Probably one of my least favorite Pokemon due to how underwhelming it was when I played Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire for the first time. Most of the kids that plays those games went the usual route of choosing Tailo as their flying type Pokemon of choice. Of course, I wanted to be the cool kid that I wanted to be different and pick Wingull. After heading to Slateboard Town, that was where I met my fate. And it was trash. With Pelipper's god-awful moveset, horrible stats, and his quad weakness, by Watson's gym I knew it was time to get rid of him.
I have a question. Why would you use, Pelipper in an electric gym? It's a water flying type. Of course it would have a bad time with it. Did you not know that?
Now I know I didn't really have him for that long of a time, but man oh man, I tried so hard to like that Pokemon. Fortunately, I wised up and got a bit smarter and decided to go with the Tailo route. You know when you're level 25 and your best move is Water Gun, there's a huge problem.
You know, even though his moveset is not the greatest, he's more for stalling. He learns Protect, Supersonic, and even Water Pulse can confuse an opponent, so technically, he can be good in some situations. Not all situations, mind you, but he does have his uses.
Generation 4 with Pokemon Diamond, Pearl, and Platinum were some of my favorite regions of all time. The Pokemon in there have some really great designs with some crazy good lore behind them. We got cool looking Pokemon like Gallade, cute looking Pokemon like Shinx, but can someone please tell me, what in God's abomination is this? Its pre-evolution Nosepass was introduced in Generation 3, and it's really not that bad, but what were they thinking with Probopass? It's just so ugly.
You could say that this Pokemon is meant to be a silly Pokemon. Almost every generation has one of these. Gen 1 had Mr. Mime, Gen 2 had Unknown, Gen 3 had a bunch actually, and this one. So technically, it's in the grand old tradition of silly Pokemon design.
Generation 4 is a region known for adding lots of pointless evolutions, like Magmortar, Tangrowth.
You mean Magmortar and Tangrowth. I don't know how you can screw up those names so easily. They're easy. It's English, damn it.
But of course, not Ambipom. I feel like Probopass was not necessary to be into the games. Its design is just so ugly. Now I know this is the same about Pelipper, but he isn't really as bad as Probopass, which is why Probopass is higher on the list. I get they're trying to do the thing with the magnetic field and electric particles and all that, but giving him nose hairs, really Game Freak, it really doesn't look that great. All in all, Probopass is just one ugly Pokemon.
Are you guys starting to see a pattern here? I'm seeing that he might not exactly be looking at a Pokemon for its battle capabilities. But keep this in mind for the next one, because oh boy, is this next one just all kinds of fun.
So you remember how I said I did a video on Arizo's channel around a month ago? Well, a lot of the comments seem to have sort of been indebted towards me because of my hate of Mimikyu. Now the reason I hate Mimikyu is just because for some strange reason in my mind, I think it's an awful Pokemon.
So you don't have any real reasons as to why you don't like it, it's just awful to you. I think we might have found out the reason why people don't like this opinion of yours.
Now I know a lot of you are gonna get triggered when I say this, but I think Mimikyu's design is extremely unoriginal and unappealing to the eye. The Pokemon literally looks like something you would use as a dirty rag to clean up a spill. I get Pokemon wanted to be nostalgic and use something that happened 20 years ago because of their 20th anniversary, yada yada yada, but couldn't they do something else? I also want to point out that Mimikyu is just a recycled version of Bayonet. The design concept and the story are almost the same. Mimikyu, ugly and unoriginal.
How are they the same design-wise? Both look nothing alike, and even then, the backstory? The backstory for Bayonet and Shuppet has always been that they're dolls that were cast out by their owners. Mimikyu grew jealous of Pikachu because of how popular it became. Wow, it's almost like you have no reason to actually hate Mimikyu aside from the fact you just think it's terrible. Dude, come up with real reasons as opposed to bullshit ones.
Have you ever wanted to see a Pokemon in games that was stupid, ugly, and blue? And something that you can just unleash all your energy on, then have it live the attack and send it back at you with 2 times the power? Who's your daddy, YouTube? You already know it's a Nuzlocke killer himself, Wobbuffet here. Seriously, why does this thing exist? Someone please tell me. It really irks me at the fact that Wobbuffet is so well received by the Pokemon community, only for its role in the anime.
It also couldn't be from the fact that you have to use strategy in order to actually use Wobbuffet. I mean, unlike most kids, you couldn't just put a Hyper Beam on it and hope it kills everything. Wobbuffet was not meant for that. It was meant to actually learn how to use Mirror Coat, Safeguard, Destiny Bond, and Counter, all of which are relatively hard to use unless you're smart enough to understand it, and since we're kids, most likely we didn't understand that concept, which is why it's so heavily regarded, because it helps people learn how to do strategy.
Wobbuffet has one of the worst designs I've ever seen. It's literally just a punching bag, but the punching bag isn't even a Pokemon itself. The little tail with the eyes on the back is the Pokemon. The bag is just a shell or something that it can use to protect itself.
That's not true. That only comes from Pokemon fan theories. If you actually knew what you were talking about, you'd research this, but instead you didn't. You just pumped out a video for the sake of pumping out a video, like every other Poketuber ever.
In every generation of the Pokemon games, we have that one trash normal type Pokemon in the beginning. Except B-Barrel. I love you, B-Barrel. We have Rattata, Sentret, and even Zigzagoon.
Warum kannst du dein Leben nicht richtig aussprechen? Ist nicht so schwer.
But none of them were nearly as bad as the abomination known as Patrat, and even worse, his evolution, Watchog. Patrat really isn't that bad, but Watchog is a whole different story. Can someone please explain to me why he looks like he's on drugs? Like seriously, this Pokemon looks like he's seen things that nobody else should have to.
He's a watchdog. He's trying to intimidate foes if they come near him. Kind of like how some actual animals tend to have features that could be considered scary. Ooh.
His neck is also super long and a super short body. Reminds me of someone I know. His design and color scheme are extremely ugly, and that's what gives him the #1 slot on our worst Pokemon list. Now I know I didn't really say much about Watchog and Patrat, but come on, just look at him. Is there really that much I need to say?
Actually yes. It would be better if you actually explained the Pokemon stats and moveset. Just because the design is not good to you does not make it a bad Pokemon. Honestly, why is it that you Poketubers do this so much? You put more of an emphasis on their designs rather than their actual battle capabilities. And even then, when you do try to bring up battle capabilities, it's always in competitive. Please, for the love of God, learn that your main viewing audience is not casual or hardcore. It's most of the time somewhere in the middle. And that's the end of the video, and I'm gonna guess I have to give my final thoughts. And you might be thinking I'm just gonna say the, the moveset, design, and, stat problem I said earlier. But I'm not. Instead, I gotta bring up how lazy this list felt. This list felt like it was so lazily done. Not only did it sound like you did not give a rat's ass about this list, but your editing was piss poor, your script reading was absolutely atrocious as you sounded bored throughout the entire video, and you even left in parts that I felt like were 2 totally different recording sessions, and you assumed it was okay. Dude, you have to try to make a good video, and what's worse was this was made on Mystic Umbreon's channel. Somebody else's channel, and you didn't even try half the time. If you're going to try and make a video, you have got to put your best foot forward, because the entire comment section has made it painfully clear that they do not care for your opinions, nor they want to see you ever again on his channel. So, Monkiez, please get better, because this was an absolute atrocious video, and I really don't think you're going to be very far into the, Pokemon fan base the way you've been going.